And after we marry, oh baby, a boy and a girl will come if you come with me. The mic check 1 2. The Committee of Budget, Appropriation, and Finance is out of recess. Madam Clerk, can I have the item in block number 3?
Hello. Continuation of the Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance hearing on Wednesday, June 18, 2025, 6 p.m. in the Cleone H. Cricky Legislative Conference Room on St. John to receive testimony on the following bill. Block 3, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Bill number 36-0092, an act approving the lease agreement between the Government of the Virgin Islands and St. John Taxi Service Corporation for parcel number D-2, Estate Cruz Bay Town, Cruz Bay Quarter, St. John, Virgin Islands. Invited testifiers: Mr. Vincent Richards, Assistant Commissioner, VI Department of Property and Procurement. Mr. Sean L. Claxton, President, St. John Taxi Service Corporation. Ms. Carmen Wesselhoff, Taxi Driver. This concludes the reading of today's agenda, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Can I have a quorum call at this time?
Senator Marvin A. Blyden. Senator Blyden, absent. Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff. Here. Senator DeGraff, present. Senator Ray Fonseca. Here. Senator Fonseca, present. Senator Novell E. Francis Jr.
I'm here.
Senator Francis Jr., present. Senator Hubert L. Frederick. Here. Senator Frederick, present. Senator Maurice C. James. Senator James, absent. Senator Kurt A. Vele. Senator Vele, present. Mr. Chair, 5 present, 2 absent.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Please let the record reflect we also have non-committee member present here. Today we have at-large Senator Angel Bocas Jr., as well as Senate Secretary Avery Lewis and Senator Carla J. Joseph. Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence to be read into the record?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You may proceed with reading of those correspondence.
Letter dated June 18, 2025, addressed to Honorable Senator Novell E. Francis Jr., Chairman, Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance, 36th Legislature of the Virgin Islands, 3022 Golden Rock, St. Croix, VI 00820. Dear Senator Francis Jr., please accept my sincere apologies as I am unable to attend the continuation of the Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance meeting scheduled for today, Wednesday, June 18, 2025, scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. in the Cleone H. Cricky Legislative Conference Room due to a prior commitment. Kindly excuse my absence. I regret any inconvenience this may cause and thank you for your understanding. Respectfully, Maurice C. James, Esquire, Senator, 36th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. This concludes today's correspondence, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. You could mark Senator Maurice James as excused. At this time, we have the individuals seated in the testifiers table, and I'll just go quickly to have them do a mic check and introduce themselves, and then we'll go to the bill sponsor to present bill number 36-0092. Assistant Commissioner.
Good evening, Vincent Richards, Assistant Commissioner for the Department of Property and Procurement.
Good evening, welcome. Sir.
Sean Claxton, President, St. John Taxi Association.
Good evening, welcome. Mr. Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Say that name again, please.
Patrick A. Hendrickson, Senior, Taxi Driver.
Very well. Thank you very much. At this time, bill sponsor, you recognize for presentation on bill number 36-0092.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to the listening and viewing audience. Mr. Chair and colleagues, I rise to offer Bill number 36-0092, which seeks legislative approval for a lease agreement between the government of the Virgin Islands and the St. John Taxi Services Corporation for parcel number D-2 in Estate Cruz Baytown, St. John. This lease formalizes the occupation and use of government-owned public property that has been operated without legal documentation. This lack of formal lease is an administrative oversight, and it presents a tangible legal and financial liability to the government of the Virgin Islands. Without a binding lease, the government is exposed to potential legal disputes regarding property rights, indemnity in case of injury or damages on site, and challenges around operational control or regulatory enforcement. It creates ambiguity in the terms of responsibility, accountability, and oversight. Without a formal lease in place, the government of the Virgin Islands and the taxi operators of St. John remain exposed to serious vulnerabilities. The government faces ongoing legal liability without indemnification protections, and no control over how the property is used, and no enforceable standards for safety, maintenance, or revenue collection. At the same time, the taxi operators are unable to secure permits, funding, or investment in long-term improvements due to the uncertainty of their occupancy. This legal vacuum discourages accountability, it delays modernization, and leaves both parties unprotected. A lease is not only a formality, it is a necessary tool that brings order, structure, and protection to critical public service operations on public land. By approving this lease, we're not only providing the St. John Taxi Services Corporation with the legal stability needed to invest in critical infrastructure, such as a proper boot or staging area, safety signs, and improved visitor experience tools, but we're also protecting the government of the Virgin Islands from unnecessary risks. This is not simply a courtesy for the taxi operators, it's a legal safeguard and a responsible governance measure. A lease is the baseline of any responsible use of government and public land. It is how we ensure proper land management, revenue collections, and enforceable standards of use. Allowing this situation to persist any longer without a formal agreement undermines the duty to the public and sets a dangerous precedent. This is about economic development, risk management, and legal order. It empowers local community-based nonprofits such as the St. John Taxi Association that has been delivering essential transportation services while also fulfilling civic responsibilities such as supporting cultural events, offering discounted free rides for the youth and seniors, and acting as ambassadors to our visitors. Colleagues, I urge you to support this measure and bring legal clarity, economic opportunity, and community investment to the heart of St. John. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Bolkes, for that comprehensive introduction of Bill 36-0092. At this time, we'll go to the testifiers table to receive testimony, and Mr. Assistant Commissioner Richards, you're recognized for your testimony.
Thank you. Good evening, Committee Chair Novelli Francis Jr., committee members, the Honorable Senators Kurt A. Viallet, Dwayne M. DeGraff, Ray Fonseca, Hubert L. Frederick, Mr. Senate Secretary Avery Lewis, and Senator Carla Joseph, members of the central staff, the legislative staff, fellow testifiers and visitors present in the chambers, and members of the viewing and listening audience. My name is Vincent Richards. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of the Virgin Islands Department of Property Procurement. I'm testifying today on behalf of Commissioner Lisa M. Alejandro to offer testimony on the proposed lease agreement for the St. John District, which is before the committee for consideration. Today, the Department of Property and Procurement requests this committee and ultimately the full body's approval of the lease agreement between the government of the Virgin Islands and St. John Taxi Service Corporations, or St. John Taxi. The lease agreement requires legislative approval in accordance with 31 VRI Code, subsection 205. The term will commence on the first day of the month following the approval of the governor and the legislature of the Virgin Islands. As the premises owner, the Department of Property and Procurement will be required to execute any and all permits, licenses required for the premises. This lessee has provided the required documentation to support the processing of their lease agreement with the government, including but not limited to their nonprofit letter, which is a 501c3, and a certificate of good standing. The lease agreement between the government of the Virgin Islands and St. John Taxi Service Corporation is for parcel number D2, Estate Cruz Bay Town, Cruz Bay Quarter, St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands, consisting of approximately 2,700 square feet or 0.062 U.S. acres of land. The property will be used to operate a taxi stand and other related purposes. St. John Taxi approached the Department of Property and Procurement and the government in 2023, seeking a long-term agreement for the property. The Department of Property and Procurement decided to offer the organization a one-year revocable license agreement that was ratified on September 27, 2024. During that evaluation period, the Department of Property and Procurement witnessed a sharp reduction in complaints, and as the St. John Taxi developed an organized and uniform ground transportation taxi service at the main point of entry and exit for residents and visiting guests to the island of St. John. The bright orange polo shirts are impossible to miss. The term of the lease agreement is for 20 years, and the agreement provides for an optional renewal of 2 additional 5-year periods. The annual rent for the above referenced parcel will be $9,600 annually, payable in monthly payments of $800 during the first 2 years of the term of the lease agreement. The lessee shall be required to pay the lessor, the government of the Virgin Islands, an adjusted annual rent amount of $12,000 for the third, closer. The lessee shall pay an adjusted annual rent amount of $12,000 for the third, 4th year of the lease agreement, and on the 5th year of the lease agreement, they'll pay $14,400 annually, as well as the 6th year of the lease agreement. The rent payable under the lease shall be adjusted after the 6th year of the initial term, and every year thereafter, including any renewable terms, in accordance with the increases of the Consumer Price Index, in accordance with the consumer price increases established by the United States Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. This lease agreement requires a minimum of $1 million of general liability coverage. This proposed lease agreement will allow St. John Taxi to utilize, improve, and maintain the subject property in the St. John district of the U.S. Virgin Islands. The property will be returned to the government at the end of the term of the lease agreement in a well-maintained condition. The Department of Property and Procurement and Commissioner Alejandro respectfully request that the Committee on Budget, Appropriation, and Finance vote in favor of the proposed lease agreement. If approved, the lease agreement will assist this tenant in executing their plan for expansion and improved operations. It will also contribute to the ongoing growth of the United States Virgin Islands and the long-term stability and expansion of our tourism-based economy. This concludes my testimony. I'm prepared to answer any questions the committee may have on the reference lease agreement. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Assistant Commissioner Richards. Before we go on to the next testifier, I'd just like to recognize the presence of Senator Milton Potter, Senate President. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. This time, Mr. Claxton, you're recognized for your testimony.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman Novel E. Francis Jr., members of the 36th Legislature of the Virgin Islands Finance Committee, and listening audience. Thank you for the opportunity to present this testimony. Thank you for the opportunity to present this testimony in support of the proposed 20-year lease agreement between the Government of the Virgin Islands and St. John Taxi Association Services. This lease would allow the authorized continued operation and management of the St. John Taxi located on parcel number D2, Estate Cruz Bay, Town Quarters, U.S. Virgin Islands. My name is Sean Claxton, and I'm submitting this statement on behalf of St. John Taxi Corporation in the capacity of the President. Accompanying me this afternoon is Mr. Charles Dorr, my Vice President, Mr. Kenneth Lewis, my Treasurer, and Ms. Jermaine Dorr Holliday, my Acting Secretary. We are a long-lasting organization dedicated to providing safe, professional, and efficient transportation services across the island. The association is composed with 34 licensed experienced drivers who have lived and worked in the community and are deeply committed into the growth and well-being. The St. John Taxi Services Corporation was officially reestablished in 2021 to unify and advocate for all taxi driving operators of the St. John formal organizational structure. Prior to this, taxi operations on the islands were coordinated through a mutual understanding among licensed drivers who upheld long-standing standards and regulation of the previous association. The spirit of cooperation kept essential transportation service running despite the absence of formal governance. Since reestablished, the association has taken active steps to stabilize and improve its operations. In September 2024, we successfully secured a one-year lease for the taxi stand, which marked a critical milestone in our efforts to formalize our presence and more effectively advocate for both drivers and the wider community. Today, we continue to serve the island's primary organized transportation network, supporting both the daily needs of residents and the demands of our virtual tourism industry. Our members take pride in delivering courtesy, dependable service, and the association has maintained a strong reputation among the traveling public. The association is not only a transportation provider, it's a cornerstone of the local economy and a key player in the visitors' experience on St. John. A 20-year lease will enable our association to invest in upgrades to the taxi stand infrastructure, including enhancement to passengers' waiting areas, signage, safety systems, and dispatch operations. With security of tenure, we are in a strong position to pursue modernization invites and make long-term capital investment and capital improvements that enhance both the efficiency of service and experience of the traveling public. The taxi stand directly support the livelihood of dozens of licensed taxi drivers, their families. A long-term lease will ensure stability, support small businesses in the community, and create opportunities for growth. As a cooperative body, the association also provides a structure for self-regulation, dispute resolution, peer accountability, ensuring high operational standards across the board. The St. John Taxi Services play a vital role in the Virgin Islands tourism industry. Our drivers are often the first point of contact for visitors arriving on the island, and we proudly embrace our responsibility as ambassadors of the Virgin Islands. In addition, daily transportation services, we actively partner with Virgin Islands National Park to support major community recreational events. We also provide transportation for significant local activities, including the 8 Tough Miles road race and the annual Power Swim. These partnerships demonstrate our ongoing commitment to support the cultural, recreational, and community life of the island. The association has a long history of giving back to the St. John community. We have made donations to local schools, churches, recognizing their essential role in education and community. We offer discounted transportation services to students and provide free transportation for seniors participating in social wellness activities. In addition, the St. John Taxi Association also allows community to use the taxi stand and adjacent the bandstand for public events, cultural gatherings, and community activities. These spaces are served as central and accessible locations for the islands. Residents to come together, host events, and celebrate local traditions. Our willingness to share these spaces reflects our commitment to being a true partner in the community. The St. John Taxi Services is a registered nonprofit organization. Our mission is to serve the people and visitors of St. John, not to generate a profit, but to provide reliable and accessible transportation through collective effort. All incomes allocated to the management and maintenance of the taxi stand, in addition to administrative support, equipment, upkeep, and member services. Our operational expenses and revenues currently cover an 8-month period from September 24th to April 2025. These figures reflect our financial activity during this period. And we appreciate that on our annual basis, expense and revenues will scale proportionally as the association continues to stabilize and grow. Appendix A and B provide a detailed breakdown of our operational expenses, revenue that in the past 8 months, demonstrating our nonprofit financial responsibility. A 20-year lease will give the association the stability it needs to plan, grow effectively. Long-term planning requires a stable foundation, particularly in the areas such as investment partnerships and regularity compliance. This lease is not only an investment in the association, but it's an investment in a dependable, community-rooted transportation for St. John. We respectfully urge the Senate to approve this 20-year lease for St. John Taxi Stand. The St. John Taxi Services Corporation has a proven history of responsible services, civic engagement, and economic contribution. A long-term lease will allow us to continue serving the island with pride, stability, and a forward-looking our vision community deserves. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration. Respectfully submitted, Sean L. Claxton, President of the St. John Taxi Association.
Thank you very much, President Sean Claxton, for your testimony there. We had another testifier, Carmen Wesselhoff, who unfortunately had a medical emergency and had to leave the island. However, she has submitted a report, testimony, which will have the Madam Clerk read into the record at this time.
Good evening. Honorable Senator Novelle Francis, members of the Finance Committee, other senators of the 36th legislature present, all other people present, and to those of you viewing and listening. I am Carmen Wesselhoff Hedrington, an independent taxi driver here on St. John. Thank you for rescheduling this hearing so that it can be held on St. John, since a hearing of this magnitude affects the lives of all taxi drivers on St. John. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on Bill number 36-0092, a lease agreement between the Government of the Virgin Islands, acting through the Department of Property Procurement, and St. John Taxi Services Corporation, to lease parcel number D-2 Estate Cruz Bay Town Quarter, U.S. Virgin Islands, consisting of approximately 2,700 U.S. square feet, or 0.062 US acres of land Zone W, the property will be used to operate a taxi stand and other related services. I am here before you this evening, not on my own behalf, but I am the voice of the 50+ people whose signature is on the signed petition presented to you. This signed petition represents the signatures of all who vehemently oppose this body giving a lease to any entity for this public taxi stand. The Cruz Bay taxi stand is a public taxi stand which was made law by former Senator Cleon Cricky Maynard back in 1980. Senator Maynard passed this bill so that no St. John taxi operator would be disenfranchised, but we are all given an equal opportunity to operate fairly and equally without fear of bullying, personal vendettas, or personality conflicts. This public taxi stand should not be leased out, period. In early years, the taxi stand was leased out to St. John Taxi Stand, but history has shown that under a lease, there has always been chaos. In 2013, under the DeYoung administration, St. John Taxi Service was evicted from the taxi stand because of unruly and chaotic conduct. Governor DeYoung said he found it fit to put it under the Port Authority since they are the manager of the port and ferry dock. For 2 years, it was under the management of the port, and it ran smoothly. Certain measures were put in place by the Port Authority before it was turned back to Property and Procurement in 2015. From 2015 to 2024, St. John taxi drivers managed themselves with the measures that were put in place by the Port Authority, and it ran orderly. Therefore, we believe that we do not need any one entity with a lease. What is needed is proper management and for the Taxi Commission to do its part in acting on the complaints of unruly taxi drivers so that we can weed out the ones that are making it chaotic and putting taxi drivers in a bad light. Recently, the Department of Property and Procurement awarded St. John Taxi Service Corporation a 1-year temporary revocable license agreement for parcel number D2 Estate Cruz Bay Town, known as the St. John Taxi Stand. In our observation and what we are experiencing, there is a lot of bias and unethical practices. While this agency does not get into the rules or bylaws of the association or the day-to-day operation, the agency still has the oversight responsibility and should be aware of what is taking place on its property. St. John taxi drivers are always at a disadvantage. Recently, the Virgin Islands National Park has disenfranchised us where they initially charged $75 to operate in the park, to drive on the Almondo Rocky Libid Road. This year, they increased the fee by 466% to $350. We do not know what it will be next year because initially they wanted $750. Then they are asking for 3% of our gross income. This was delayed until we do not know when. The Cruz Bay Ferry Terminal is the gateway to St. John. Unlike St. Thomas, this is the only port of entrance for taxi operators to work from St. Thomas. You can work at the airport, Crown Bay Terminal, Blyden Terminal, Herman Fredericks Terminal, Red Hook, West Indies Company, Havenside, Megan's Bay, Corky Point, at a hotel, and the list goes on. Nevertheless, the Cruz Bay Taxi Stand or the Virgin Islands National Park are the only 2 areas of operation for taxi drivers. We are unique and limited. St. John is too small and limited in choices to operate from to give one group a lease and a lease for 20 years. Respectfully submitted, Taxi Ambassadors of St. John. Please note, attached are 52 sign-in support of not entering into a lease. This concludes the reading of the testimony. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Again, that's Carmen Wesselhoff Hendrington. And unfortunately, she's not here this evening. However, we wanted to read her testimony into the record. At this time, Mr. Hendrickson?
Yeah.
You're recognized for your testimony.
Yes. Can I stand for 1 minute? My name is Patrick Hendrickson Sr. I'm the how should I say, Secretary for St. John Taxi Service.
Yes, sir. You have a problem sitting, or?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm going to set this straight. The way I'm dressed right now, why I'm standing, because I was sent home one Sunday, came dressed as I am. They told me that I'm not fit to taxis. I had to go change my pants into a dress pants. So I'm just letting you guys see some of the things are being done there on the taxi stand as far as dress code. I understand you're not supposed to wear colored jeans and stuff like that, but I don't think there's nothing wrong with how I'm dressed. Shoes, heels covered, and I was sent home, okay? And let me move on. The issues I want to just talk about is basically the dress code, which I just explained to you guys. The parking situation on the taxi stand is limited parking, so sometimes we park there, and we go to the post office, you know, and in this situation, I parked there for 2 hours, went to the BMV to do some, some business. When I returned the next day, they told me this is a warning saying that if I park there, whatever the case may be. But anyhow, in the meantime, there are other taxis sleeping there overnight, parked there 24/7, and they have not received a warning, you know. As for the non-members coming from the beach or whatever to drop off passengers, they are not allowed to park on the taxi stand unless they pay them $20. I think that's unfair. But they definitely can't unload in the middle of the street, blocking the traffic. The police will give them a ticket, impeding traffic. So I don't know what they can do, but the members, we can park there, unload, it's okay. But I think, that's a situation with the parking, that address, and provoking taxi drivers. Some of the members of the Taxi Service Association provoke some of the taxi drivers. They have, how should I say, the handle, whereas the taxi drivers have the blade. They could suspend you at any time. They'll come and provoke you, make an argument. When things get escalated between the two, eventually cause war will exchange to a point where they will eventually look to get fight physically, and at the end of it, the taxi driver gets suspended. If both of them were cussing and throwing nasty word at each other, the both should get suspended. Only the taxi driver gets suspended. I think these are some of the things St. John Taxi are looking into. The provoking and escalating things what are not called for, And another thing I want to talk about is, I mentioned that before, the mistreatment about the members, they can't do certain stuff there. They got to pay $20 to park and unload. I think that's really unfair. And the wrongful suspension, that's my main issue, the wrongful suspension. Say about 2 weeks back, I was suspended. I'm still suspended from the taxi stand due to the fact that I went on the wrong way. I came in from Trong Bay. I was in my plain clothes. I was not working at the taxi stand that day, because we alternate. Every other day we'll work. So I came in, drop off. The roads were blocked up because carnival, the billing booths and stuff. So I decided to come. I look around, I saw no police, which I was totally wrong. I forget card, I will pay my ticket. But anyway, I went down the one way, and other taxi driver saw me and yelled. And he went and tell the president that I went down the one way. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a grown man. So I told him yes. The next day I come to work early morning, he gave me a letter, you're suspended. I said, for what? Where the disciplinary committee, who determined and suspended? It's final, that's it. And then after that, I look at my bylaws, I see nothing inside there, the one we use it, I have a copy of it right here. I see nothing inside there saying that you should not go down the one way. But about Friday, 2 days after I got suspended, here this new handbook came out. I haven't seen it. I don't know what's in the book. You know what I mean? But I think it's just unjust suspending taxi drivers for no reason without a disciplinary committee. I'm not the only one. There are several taxi drivers right now who are suspended right now. Some are suspended, understand, indefinitely without having a hearing or going in front of a community or anything like that. You just get a letter, bam, you're suspended. We got our family to feed, okay? I got a son in the army. I got to look out for him also still. My daughter, she's in elementary school still, my Fact Junior High, and I got to look out for them. I got to feed them. I got to provide for them. But you suspending me for wrongfully, I don't think that's right. That is not right. I've been a taxi driver for more than 25 years. I have never experienced nothing like this in my life before, okay? Nothing like this. So basically, there's a lot more I could talk about, but I don't want to drag it on. But for me, giving St. John Tax Service this lease for 20 years is a no-no due to the fact how the members were treated. And like one of the members say, they heard through the grapevine that if you think things are bad now, wait till we get a 20-year lease. From that point on, I decide I have to open my mouth. That's all I have to say.
Very good. No. Please, you can't do that here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hendrickson, for your testimony there. At this time, I'll open up the floor for my colleagues to have a discussion on this matter. And the order that will be going in this evening, we have, first of all, Avery Lewis, Senator Kurt Viele, Senator Carla Joseph, Senator Milton Potter, Senator Hubert Frederick, Senator Ray Fonseca, Senator DeGraff, and then we'll come back to Senator Angel Volquez as the bill sponsor. Avery Lewis, Senator Avery Lewis, you're recognized for your 5 minutes at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One quick second, sir, before you start. We did have a letter submitted recently from Cleone H. Cricky in regards to her position on this that we have circulated to my colleagues and also placed on the drive to be viewed by everyone. Sorry about that. You recognize your 5 minutes.
No problem. Again, good evening, colleagues. Good evening, testifiers. Good evening, Virgin Islands. Special good evening, St. John. Mr. Assistant Commissioner Richards, were there any community engagement or public notice that was conducted prior to finalizing the lease agreement for Parcel D-2 in Cruz Bay?
Good question, Senator. Good question, Senator. Thank you. The answer is no. It's not the accustomed practice of the government of the Virgin Islands or the Department of Property and Procurement to seek public input on a request for a lease agreement.
Okay. Mr. Claxton.
Senator.
Yes, to the best of your knowledge, outside beyond a taxi stand, are there other anticipated activities that will be happening there outside of taxi business?
Yes, Senator. In our community, since the community is so small, sometimes there's functions for fundraisers, and we let whoever asks the
No. We ain't gonna have that one tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Claxton.
So we let people use the taxi stand to do their duties as raising funds for whatever organization they belongs to. Also, the week of Carnival, we have the food fair there that we know that the Carnival is going to use, and also for 4th of July for the parade.
All right. Assistant Commissioner, to you again. There was a rental fee structure that's created. $9,600 annually is the first 5 years? 6 years or something like that? Help me.
Here, let me refer back to my testimony, Senator. The first 2 years, I believe it's $9,600 annually at a monthly rate of $800, Senator. Then it escalates in the third and fourth year to $12,000 annually. Then in the fifth year and sixth year, it's $14,400 annually, Senator.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Richards. But my main question to that was, how was this determined, being that we have a prime waterfront parcel there?
Senator, I mean, we started out, to be honest, we started out at the $14,400 annually, and then the association basically brought a plan to us to show that they were going to be making capital investments in the property in terms of building of a mobile, a semi-permanent structure to house a dispatch booth on the property and to invest as well as in the landscaping, and we made consideration for them to get them up and running and operating efficiently.
If this body approves this lease, do they need CCM input for construction?
Senator, to be totally honest with you, I have no idea. I know that if they do need anything done within the Tier 1 zone that requires CCM approval, they're going to have to get CCM approval and or any other body that regulates construction or building of any structure, whether it be permanent or temporary, on the site.
Mr. Claxton, the leadership is comprised of
Myself, Mr. Kenneth Lewis, the treasurer, Mr. Charles Dorr, the vice president, and acting secretary, Domain Holiday Dorr.
good. Don't lose the mic. If this lease is approved by this body, could you explain to us here tonight what type of size or structure that is intended to go there in that position, in that particular space? First, describe to me exactly where it is.
The booth, the Cruz Bay taxi stand is, as you come off of the dock, you make a left. The spaces, the 13 spaces to your left. From the handicap, go down to...
Heading towards the battery?
Yes. There's a pole in the middle of the taxi stand that cannot be removed. It won't be removed right now for our understanding. It was supposed to be removed.
30 seconds.
It was supposed to be removed, and the cables were supposed to be buried underground. I didn't see that happen. So we were going to build our kiosk right around in that space, which wasn't going to hamper a space because the pole is there. No vehicle can park there. It hangs out in the street. We would have put our kiosk right there so we could stop using the pole that's under the tree to secure our phone. And we will not be operating as a shade tree operation.
Time.
We have some place to work from.
So go ahead and explain to me what type of structure you intend to
It would be, the property and procurement said it cannot be bigger than 6 by 6. So we'll make it 6 by 6 with a computer, information pamphlets, just modernize it so we could change what has been going on for the last 40, 50 years, working from the street.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If anything, I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Lewis. Assistant Commissioner Richards.
Senator Lewis, if I may, in the package that we submitted, there is a drawing, a mock-up that shows what they propose to build at the property. If you don't have it, I'll forward it to you via email for you to take a look at as well.
I only have your testimony and the bill and everyone else's testimony at this time. I'll double check as well.
Thank you. Before we go on to Senator Vielle, who's next, Mr. Hendrickson. Well, actually, Mr. Claxton, Mr. Hendrickson made some reference of suspension and some concerns. Would you like to address that, those concerns that was brought?
I have no problem with addressing the suspensions.
Yes.
Every suspension that has been awarded to anybody that violates our Anybody that has
One
via-
second, sir. Sir, we have a little bit of, we have structure in this place, and if you continue to shout out, we're going to ask you to leave. All right, you can't be doing that. Go ahead.
We have a St. John Taxi Service has a handbook with all rules that are placed. Every driver has received an old one. We did a revised one. We pass them out in meetings because we don't do business on the street. So if you don't come to meetings, then you wouldn't have an updated handbook. So everything a driver or I would say a taxi operator that works from that taxi stand, once you break the rules, everything is here to be explained what comes with the penalties. Every taxi driver that would ever get suspended has the right to write a written appeal. It is stated in our handbook. And up until the appeal is called, he's allowed to work. Once we have a written something for our organization to go by to call a hearing with our disciplinary committee, he is allowed to work up until a judgment is passed.
So there is due process as afforded the suspendee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Senator Curvilla, you're recognized for your 5 minutes at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, people of the Virgin Islands. Good evening, St. John. Ms. Hendrickson, you have a copy of the rules and regs?
Yes. Yes, I do. And not of the new one, what he just
Okay,
said.
you got to speak into the mic.
Not from the, I have the one from before.
Okay, and
Like I said, this is one we walk by, and I was
does-
suspended.
Hold up. Does it have a process for appeal included in what you have? In the rules and regs that you have?
Not do I know of in this one, not do I know of.
Did the original, Mr. Clarkson, did the original rules and regs have a process for appeal?
Yes, Senator. All we did was transfer old information onto new paper with additional rules since we were coming under the new regime of St. John Taxi Association.
But is there a process for appeal in the old rules and regs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does the leadership of your association live on St. John?
I'm the only one that lives on St. Thomas.
The other members of the leadership live on St. John?
Yes.
Okay, and your taxi service is on St. John?
Yes.
Prior to you receiving the 1-year lease, what was the structure at the Cruz way dock in terms of individuals being able to get a taxi?
Well, I would be ashamed to say.
No, I need you to put it on the record if you can. What was the structure absent the 1-year lease? Individuals coming off the boat, what was the structure? Did you go to somebody, or was it a free-for-all and everybody lined up and trying to get passenger? What was the structure?
There was no structure. It was confusion.
Okay.
Drivers refusing to take passengers where they needed to go.
Okay, stop there. So Hendrickson, what was the structure before the 1-year lease for the St. John Taxi Association?
I personally felt it operated much better before St. John took it over.
wa-
They basically,
What was the
the same
structure?
s-
What was the structure? Tell me what happened. Somebody coming off the boat, what was the structure?
the same structure we had from before, where we put our number.
I don't know what it is. What was it? Can you say what it was? How would somebody get a taxi? Were the drivers lined up? Was there a system in place? What was the structure?
Well, there was a system in place. Basically, we have our numbers on a pad, whereas we say, okay, for example, we take turn dispatching, because we had no dispatcher. I would go down and say, well, okay, the first 5 cars, basically, we started shopping from number 5. If one person come to go to Weston, we say number 5, Weston, and we just continue loading the rest buses at 10, 12, whatever. And trust me, we had no confusion. It runs smoothly.
So there are a number of independent drivers that are not members of this association.
Say that again, repeat.
There are a number of independent drivers that are not members of the Taxi Association, the St. John Taxi Association.
When it was running freely, everybody came.
This current group, are there a number of members, independent taxi drivers, that refuse to be members of this association?
Yes. There's a
What is
lot.
the reason why?
because they feel it's unfair. They watch and see what's going on with the suspension, you know, without any hearing, disciplinary committee, anything. Those are the reasons, some of the reasons. One guy told me he's not joining because he's not giving the money because they don't help the community much. Whereas
Okay, so hold up there.
those
So
are some of the
don't you
reason.
believe, I'm seeing, from just looking at it, seems like this is independent over here, and these might be members of the association on the next side.
Mhm.
If you have so many independent taxi drivers, if
Yes.
you join the association, you could bring about change because you got numbers.
1 minute.
That is true.
My whole thing, listen, I am from St. Croix, the very sleepy island. I just came on a boat, and the boat was ram jam. I've been here recently, about 2-3 weeks ago in the morning, and I remarked to somebody, and I said, my God, if St. Croix only had this type of passengers coming off the boat, or taxi drivers would be so happy, because in Christian said tongue,
30
is
seconds.
1-1 to get a taxi. You guys have a tremendous amount of tourists. I need to learn how to get along and be able to service those tourists in a structured setting. It can't be this argument. You guys have enough food, everybody could eat. But I gotta get along. You have to have a structure. The government need to make a little money. So the government have a lease. And my question, why if the independents get themselves structured and they want a taxi stand, you apply to. To the
Time.
guy right there beside of you. And you get a taxi stand so that you guys can operate. If not, you infiltrate the association, you bring your concerns up, but there must be a structure. There's only one, Mr. Chair, there's only one question I asked Mr. Claxton when I met him for the first time, because I don't really know him. And my question to him was, you have a part for the independent drivers? Are you going to make sure that independent drivers are able to work every single day? And his answer was yes, the fee was $20, you told me, per day.
Yes, Senator.
And the association members are $15 per day?
10, Senator.
$10 a day. Okay, so we could discuss that. So there's a structure where everybody could take part in what is taking place.
Yes, Senator.
Does the independent drivers have an issue with the $20?
No, they pay the $20.
Okay, pay the $20.
Yeah.
So the independent drivers have an issue with being treated fairly.
Yes.
Okay. And can you assure that you're going to treat these members? Because we can't grant a lease and then we're hearing right after that you're discriminating against independent drivers or you're treating them a certain way. Are you committed to not penalize anybody like Mr. Hendrickson here because he complained? Are you committed to allow them a fair process to be able to operate?
Yes, Senator. What goes for one goes for all.
Okay. Now, my whole thing is, I mean, you made some complaints, Mr. Hendrickson, but the one-way thing was a good one because that was really, the one driving on the one-way street, that wasn't a real good example because that is that's a clear violation.
Right now, I'm out of work for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but listen to what I'm saying. You guys need a structure, and you need rules and regs. I don't care where it comes from, but there's a need for rules and regs across the board with everything in reference to this great industry that you guys have in St. John.
Okay.
So there's a need for rules and regs. And I'm really happy to hear that there's a uniform policy and some other stuff because it's necessary. And sometimes the image that we portray to those who we're receiving the money from isn't really the best. So I really expected to hear an argument in reference to perhaps what they're doing wrong, per se. But like dress code and all of that, those are stuff that needs to be agreed on. I would recommend to the independent taxi drivers that you guys collectively get together. If they got 20 members and you got 20 members and you join the association, you guys much voice as them. Yes, sir.
Yes, I worked there and I followed the rules, never got suspended, wear the uniform and stuff. That day when he suspended me, I was not working in a taxi stand. Every other day we work. I was working independently. I was on my own.
Were you driving a taxi?
Yes, but I'm not.
Did you go down the road to drop individuals off at the stand?
No, I back up by the battery gate, dropped them off, and then I went back to the one way, which was wrong. But at the same time, what I'm saying, I was not working on this taxi stand that day. I did not have on their uniform. I was an independent taxi driver.
When did you get suspended?
I got suspended, I think it was the 11th. 11th or the 12th.
So right now, you need to appeal your suspension. You're allowed to work until the appeal is heard. Put them to the test.
But I already missed, what, 4 days?
Appeal the
Appeal?
suspension. Appeal your present suspension
Mhm.
to the association. During the appeal process, you're allowed to work, and then let us see how it's going to be resolved.
I already hired a lawyer to
But what you wasting money for? Appeal
because
to them.
I felt I was unjustly dealt with wrong.
I know, but there,
I was not working in taxi stand.
Mr. Hendrickson, there's a process in the rules and regs for you to appeal. So when you appeal, I guess that is part of your defense, that you were not working the taxi stand. But then still at the same time, whether you're working or not working, there was a violation of a one-way. But I'll go back to the chair because we need to move on. Thank you so much for your answers, though. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Senator Bailey. Point of information, Senator Bolkes. Please recognize the mic of Senator Bolkes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question to the chair to the president of the association. If in fact a member is suspended, does that stop or preclude them from working anywhere else on the island or just at the stand?
No, Senator. The driver can work from any given beach on the North Shore Road.
Okay, so it's just that they're suspended from conducting business at that stand, but it doesn't preclude them or stop them from working anywhere else on the island?
No, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
And in addition to that, Mr. Claxton, the appeal needs to be in writing. Is a document that's submitted to you in writing in regards to the appeal.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, there was you were able to prepare testimony here today in regards to that. So I mean, I think a one-pager in terms of our appeal will be acceptable, and then you are allowed to work until such time that the due process is exhausted. You just talk about the fact that you have to feed your family, and here it is now that you're expending additional monies to hire an attorney, when in fact you could be able to hopefully amicably resolve this situation by appealing and continuing to work. Yes, Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes, we hired an attorney because I went to the Taxi Cab Commission and she said she could not do anything about it. He sent a copy of the bylaw, some new bylaw they have. I don't have any. I haven't received a copy of it yet, so I don't know what's really going on.
Okay. All right, we'll continue the rounds of questions, but it seems to be a fix to this. And again, you appeal, and then again, afford due process, you get back to work and move forward on that. You guys are the ambassadors. You're the first that the tourists see and the last when they leave. It's important that you have a good showing and set an example of what the Virgin Islands represent. All right, we're not hodgepodge where, you're not properly attired, there's no structure, because that's the sentiment that goes back out into the wider area once the individuals get back to where they came from, and then, that again impede us being able to receive tourists. Tourists are number one industry. It's important that we're able to hone that and make sure that we're good ambassadors on that behalf. At this time, the chair would like to recognize Senator Carla Joseph for her 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. A pleasant good evening to you, members of the committee, my colleagues, as well as the listening and viewing audience, and those individuals who are present this evening. I wanted to ask some questions first off for Mr. Richards. Mr. Richards, I noted in the lease agreement, there's an article of incorporation that is included. And they have the persons listed as Kenneth Marsh, Patricia Verloc, Randolph Thomas as being the incorporators of the St. John Taxi Association. This was done in June of 1993. Is this the official articles of incorporation?
Vincent Richards, Department of Property and Procurement. Senator, that was a document that was provided to us.
By?
That was a document that was provided to us by the St. John Taxi Service Corporation, and that's what we use to process the lease agreement, Senator.
Okay, okay, great. Because then I got this handbook that has in another version. So I'm just a little confused. Which one is the official? Maybe Mr. Claxton, you could shed some light on it. Because in this handbook that you have, it has a new article of incorporation. I'll tell you what page it is on, actually. It starts, so I just wanted to know which one we're working with. Starts on page 11, Articles of Incorporation. It says St. John Taxi Service Corp.
Senator Vincent Richards, if I may. I'm reviewing a document now that we submitted, and it is dated January 31st, 2024.
There was an amendment. I saw an amendment, a first amendment that is dated January 31st, 2024. But what I am, so I wasn't talking about, because that's an amendment to the incorporation document. That's why I'm kind of confused which one we're using. Okay, because I see this as a package also included. So are you following me, Mr. Richards and Mr. Claxton? So which one is it? Because you have articles of incorporation in this handbook. So which one is the official one?
Senator, I don't know what you're looking at, because you have the information over there.
Okay. I will be more than willing if somebody could show you, but this is what was given to us by Property and Procurement. This document here, it says right here, Articles of Incorporation, St. John Taxi Services Corporation, nonprofit. And then this one is old, and I don't see an amendment to this where it puts this other article of incorporation in place. So I'm just a little bit confused relative to which incorporation it is. But this one here is the one that's included in the lease, Mr. Claxton. And that Mr. Richards from Property and Procurement indicated on the record that was given to our Department of Property and Procurement in preparing this lease agreement.
30 seconds.
Okay, I need to move on because I want to ask a question, because that's part of the confusion. It's a confusion here. This is a confusion part. How much number of members do you have in your association, Mr. Richards? I'm sorry, Mr. Claxton.
We currently have 34 members.
Okay. How many of those members are on suspension?
1.
Okay. So
Time.
you have, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to just close up, but I noted that you have 2 members who signed the petition against this agreement. That's why I asked that question. You have 2 members who signed the petition, because I was doing a quick, 2 members that I saw who signed a petition against this agreement. I really think that we need to have a moment to resolve some of these issues internally, because it could erupt into something bigger. And you are our ambassadors, and when you're an ambassador, this is not how we operate. You have 2 members here beside the one who is suspended, who signed this same petition, who is against this lease agreement. That concludes my line of questioning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Senator Carla Joseph. Next, the chair will recognize Senator Milton Potter, our Senate President. You're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Good evening, colleagues. A special good evening to residents of St. John. Special good evening to the testifiers who are before us today. The taxi industry really holds a special part in my heart because my father was a taxi driver for many, many years, and he raised us basically on the income derived from taxi driver, from his professional taxi driving service. And the industry really, when you think about it, when you look at the tourism industry here in this territory, is really the last remaining hold that local Virgin Islanders are still in control of. It really is. So I would hate to see an issue like this to further tear an industry that is still in the hands of indigenous Virgin Islanders, indigenous St. Johnians. So I hope this is something that we can get resolved. I wanted to ask Mr. Claxton, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Claxton. I wanted to ask you just straight out the gate, because you were very transparent in your testimony. You indicated with regards to just a general financial overview of the St. John Taxi Services Corporation. You mentioned that the total expenses over 8 months was $45,458.44. Total revenue was $39,095, and for operating deficit of $6,363.44. I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us, in light of this new lease agreement that you will potentially be entering into, are there going to be any challenges meeting the terms of the lease agreement?
No, Mr. President. We actually prepared to pay the first 5 years immediately.
Okay. So, what would be the source of your revenues given the expenses that you just reported versus the revenues?
Well, everyone in this quorum is not a member, so we really don't share our financial business on the street. But the association is not broke. We are prepared to pay the first 5 years. Okay. And the dues that we collect from members and non-members alike will support us in paying our lease. We know as we go, financially, things move up, inflation. So therefore, our dues will move up. We are prepared to cover our expenses.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for your response. What happens, how does it work right now? And what will happen, what will change if the lease agreement was approved? What will change in terms of just the way, the process of hiring taxis in the Cruz Bay area? What would change?
Well, the 20-year lease naturally will give us stability to keep improving the rules and enforcing the rules that we provide the best service that we can. Without a lease, there's no one to govern the drivers. So as we, as the association, have a handbook with rules and regulations, there is structure.
Okay. So
1 minute.
In terms of the rules and regs that you have developed, are the members of the association involved in developing the rules? How does that work?
We keep meetings. We started off with the rules that was in place before, from the beginning. What we did as a new organization, we refreshed them.
30 seconds.
So that they can be fully explained. Because the way it was back then, it was kind of crazy to understand. And so what we did, we just refresh and add new rules. While we add new rules, we keep meetings for the body to know what's going to happen. Okay. Take, for example, a lot of people don't know that our administrator came to the organization and asked for help for the
Time.
drivers to stop driving down the one way. They had posted new signs. The administrator came to the association, me as the president and the rest of the administration, and asked that we ask the drivers not to go down the one way. It's illegal, and if anybody goes down that one way as a taxi driver, we can be responsible for. I then kept a meeting with my colleagues and the body. I told them in a meeting, this is the warning. Any driver that goes down that one way, once they are working from the taxi stand, will be suspended. It's even in the rule book. That's it.
Thank you for your response. I don't know if Mr. Chair will allow Mr. Hendrickson to respond. Yes, I mean,
Yeah, he just mentioned once you're walking from the taxi stand, so you will suspended. I understand that. I respect that rule. But I was not walking from the taxi stand. I was independently came in and I left from there. He said it himself.
okay. Thank you. Mr. Clarkson?
Let the record show that Mr. Hendrickson is an active member of St. John Taxi Association. So it applies to him whether he's out of uniform or in uniform. In or out of uniform, you are a member of the organization.
Thank you. I want to take advantage of this, your generosity. Thank you very much for your response.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senate President Potter. I'll come right now to you, Senator Fonseca. I wanted to follow up on the line of question from the Senate President because besides rules, while I appreciate and could support structure, I think it's important that you don't appear to be heavy-handed in that area. I think that there's other areas that certainly need to be considered. Training, communication, technology, safety. These are some of the other things that I believe that will be essential for the association to ensure that they're providing to their membership so that there'll be some cohesive relationship developed with the association. Do you agree with that?
You're directing the question to me?
Yes, I asked you if
Yes.
do you agree that training, communication, technology, safety, all of those things, not just the rules, because the rules is important, we want structure, but we don't want to appear that it's heavy-handed, and we're not considering all those other, necessary ancillary things that will impact the association and the people.
I do agree with your statement.
Thank you. Senator Fonseca, you recognize for your point of information.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, Mr. Clarkson, so you're representing to this body that you're ready to pay 5 years up front, which is $9,600 times 5, which is $48,000, but your operational expenses show that you only made $39,000, and in fact, you lost $6,363. How are you able to pay $48,000 if you're losing money? Are you operating some other type of business other than this taxi? Where are you getting this additional money? You have a special reserve or something? Give me some explanation.
When I said that I was only, what would I say? I was drawing a reference that we are prepared to pay our bills.
Okay, but that's not what you said. You said 5 years. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Fonseca. Senator Viale, recognize your point of information.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clarkson, in reference to your procedure for suspension, do you hold a hearing before you suspend the individual?
You will get a warning letter.
No. Do you hold, okay, Mr. Hendrickson was suspended. Hendricks or Hendrickson?
Hendrickson, yeah.
Hendrickson. He was suspended. Did you have a hearing?
No, we did not. I'm going to answer your question. No, we did not.
Okay, because I'm reading your rules, and in your rules, it goes directly to suspension. And being a farmer, which I never like to go back to. Well, being a former educator, you always have a due process hearing before the suspension so that the individual could be able to tell you exactly what took place and you could be able to tell them in person what the charges are against the person.
Yes, I went directly to Mr. Hendrickson and I asked him, Mr. Hendrickson, did you go down the one way? Yes. Why did you go down the one way? Oh, it had traffic. I said then to him, well, then you know the rules. I mean,
Okay,
this is something that's actually...
No, I understand that, no one, but maybe a good structure would be to just have a hearing, and then as a result of the hearing, you hear the penalty. But you have the hearing, you hear it, you have it, discuss it, and then whoever is in disciplinary committee.
This is why, Senator, you have the right to appeal, so we could sit down, discuss it, and you can work up until the judgment is passed.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to save you some harassment. That's all.
Point of information. You conclude, Senator Viale?
Yeah.
Because I think earlier he explained the process that, well, there's an opportunity for an appeal to be done, and then we continue to work until such time a due process is afforded, and then they'll make a determination on going forward. Senator Potter, you recognized for your point of information.
Just for my clarification, and I don't know if you may have mentioned it before, Mr. Claxton, who do you appeal to specifically? I mean, I know you're the president of the organization.
You write the letter to St. John Taxi Association, and we'll address it.
Okay. So you don't necessarily appeal it to a different part, a different aspect
No, it comes
of
directly.
the association.
It comes to
the same person who.
It comes to my colleagues and I.
Okay.
Then we put together the disciplinary committee. We set a date. We invite the person that was suspended to it. He has a chance to bring his case, present it, and then the disciplinary committee, which we have nothing to say, will make the decision. And from henceforth, it goes.
Okay, that you clarified it, because I think originally what I was getting was that the same person who suspended was the same person who was hearing the appeal, and there would be some concerns about that. You said there is a separate and distinct disciplinary committee that will hear the appeal.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, the chair will recognize Senator Hubert Frederick. You're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, testifiers. Good evening, St. John. Listening and viewing audience. Good evening, all. I want to direct some questions as it relates to the actual organization, the St. John Taxi Service Corporation. Is that the formal name of this organization? Mr. Claxton? What is the formal name of this organization?
The formal name of the organization is St. John Taxi Services Corporation.
Corporation. And what is it? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a LLC? What is the designation?
It's a nonprofit organization.
Is there another organization connected with this?
There's not another organization connected with this. No.
It's a standalone nonprofit 501c3.
Yes, we had to provide all those documents.
Okay. And the voting process is you're governed by a board of directors that selects the members? The board of directors.
We don't have a board of directors. What we have is a president, vice president, acting treasurer, and acting secretary and treasurer.
Okay, I have a document here that shows that there's a board of directors. So I'm confused.
What you're looking at is when, I want to believe the documents that you have is when the association was formed back in 19 something. I don't know what you're looking at.
Would you like to take a look at this so I can
Please.
show you the board of directors? Can you hold my time, Mr. Chair, please?
Timekeeper, please hold the senator's time.
Are you familiar with that document? Have you seen that document? Excuse me?
Yes, I'm familiar with the document.
So there's a section in there that talks about a board of directors.
Yes, that that paper that you're looking at was created in 1993. So when we were asked, do we have any what's the word?
Bylaws?
Bylaws. We've just based it off of what we had. We didn't rewrite. We didn't take anything off of the books because the association was already together. We just started it fresh because it had gone stagnant. So we decided to put it back together, but all of the paperwork was still there.
Okay, so, and forgive me, but I really want to understand if this organization was properly reformed. Is it just thrown together, you picked out parts that you needed, or is it legally formed under our laws of the Virgin Islands and filed with the Lieutenant Governor's office?
Yes.
Okay, did you provide these bylaws to Property and Procurement, Mr. Vincent Richards? Did he see these?
We provided it to Property and Procurement. I can't tell you what they do once we deliver.
No, which documents did you give him, though? You remember
we
you
gave
got
him.
different
We
documents?
gave him the bylaws that was already there.
Okay. Can you submit to the chair the official documents of this organization?
I think they should be in the records of Property and Procurement. I don't have it on hand.
No, I'm asking you, can you submit it to the chair so we could all review it?
Yes.
Because I'm not sure which organization I'm even talking about.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what's the term of an officer right now? Is it 1 year?
I think it's every 2 years.
See, that says annually. That says every year.
Okay, well.
Okay, so now you're making me uncomfortable with this now. I can't be asked to evaluate something in which you, being the president, can't even tell me how your members are selected.
How the members are selected?
The terms, how long? How many members does it take to vote for someone for a position? How many members does it take to vote for someone for a position?
7.
It says 2/3. So you haven't been reading the documents.
It's who shows up to the election at that time.
It says 2/3 of the membership.
1 minute.
When we put the...
So, sir, I am uncomfortable now. Now you're making me very uncomfortable because I came in here open-minded. And I thought you would be in a position to feed me information because I don't know. And you're telling me things, I just read it, and I'm like, okay, he's saying something other than the documents. You're the president. You have to know your organization.
30 seconds.
I'm the president of Mines. I can tell you everything about Mines. I've got more than one.
Well, I'm not going to know everything, but I do know most. So I would have to have refreshed my memory with with the documents.
All right, let me ask you another question.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, but you still need to know your organization. How many?
Time.
How do we get new members? How much do you have to pay to join your organization?
Currently, it's $375.
$375.
Currently.
Do you have any intention of increasing the price?
Yes, as inflation go up.
By how much?
All depends on how inflation goes up.
Mr. Chair,
in the next 5 years, we don't know the price of cheese.
So you're telling me if one of these new members join, they don't know what to anticipate in terms of paying your fees, because your fees now you've got a lease, you could charge whatever you want.
It doesn't work like that.
Tell me how it works.
We keep a meeting, we discuss it amongst the members, and it goes forward from there. I don't make no decisions when it comes to monies and whatnot. I bring it before the board, they vote on it in-house, and we go from there.
Okay, you mean the board of directors?
Right. We bring it before the members.
Who's over you?
Who's over who? Me?
Yes.
We all work together.
Okay, you didn't answer my question.
Well, there's nobody over me.
The board of directors is supposed to be over you. They have the oversight.
The members vote on and decide what they are going to pay. I offer it to them, they agree, we vote, and we move on from there.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Senator Joseph had a point of information that I'll come to you, Senator Bolkes. Senator Joseph, you recognize your point of information.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. My colleague to my left raised a very pertinent question, because we have an issue regarding organization. If the Sergeant at Arms would be so kind, this was a document I was referring to, which states and is part of the lease submitted by the Department of Property.
Media, can we put some volume on these mics, please?
Thank you. It's a bit cold in here, so if I hear me sound like a trembling, I ain't accustomed to no cold place. That's why I live in the Virgin Islands. It's a little cold. This document that I have in my hand is the Articles of Incorporation for St. John Taxi Services Corporation, nonprofit, which is included in the lease agreement that the governor sent down by the Department of Procurement. That was included, and that was executed. It even has an amendment. Sergeant of Arms, can you kindly take that to Mr. Richards first and ask Mr. Richards if this is indeed the document he represented that was submitted by the St. John Taxi Association Incorporated.
Vincent Richards for Department of Property Procurement. Yes, Senator, these are the documents that are in our file currently. Yes.
Thank you. Now hand it to Mr. Claxton. Mr. Claxton, does this document look familiar to you?
Yes, Senator.
You realize that the document that was handed to you first by the Sergeant of Arms also contains an article of incorporation. So we don't know which one is the functioning one. And that's what is kind of, because you're representing that the other one is the functioning one. You had no idea about this one. So we are a bit confused, and it's leaving us a little bit not feeling good.
Well, I can explain. Now I'm seeing the documents. I can explain.
Sergeant, please retrieve those documents. I like to keep my documents.
You can proceed, Mr. Claxton.
The first set of documents that was turned in was when we was trying to get the lease at first. Then it took, I would say, almost 2 years before we heard back from the government. So then we had to submit new paperwork. And that's what happened.
So in the submittal of the new paperwork, you're saying that what the other paperwork was deleted, no longer in effect, and
well, I don't know which ones Property of Procurement used. When we were asked to turn the paperwork in, we just turned in the paperwork. One went in, and like I said, it took about 2 years. So we had to redo everything from scratch. So then it became a second set of paperwork.
Mr. Richards, can you provide some guidance in terms of what paperwork is now valid and is being utilized by property procurement in the decision-making process?
Mr. Chair, I didn't get to look at what is being referenced, so I can't give any
what is currently being used to validate this lease request at this time?
Mr. Chair, in the package that was submitted, Mr. Chair, and Vincent Richards from the Department of Property and Procurement, in the package that was submitted, there is a set of articles of incorporation that were dated originally in 1993, and then they submitted to us a set of an amendment to those articles that were dated January 31st, 2024, Senator.
And
also in the package there is a certificate of good standing, a copy of their insurance, and so forth and so forth and so forth, Senator.
So both of the submittals was forwarded to the legislature for consideration, you're saying? Both the 1993 as well as the current?
The 1993 and the one dated 2024 was submitted and is a part of the electronic file that was submitted to the office of the governor, and then the office of the governor transmitted to the legislature, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Point of information, Senator Bolkes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, let the record reflect that when you incorporate, you form or activate a separate legal entity, or in this case, a nonprofit under law, that has the ability to, a distinctive legal ability to enter into contracts, own property, lease property, sue or be sued in its name, etc. The articles of incorporation are the original documents from the inception of the forming of this organization. And this organization, just like we have terms for presidents, the organization continues to be active and in its continuation while you elect new members. And of course, with the amendment as proposed or mentioned by Property and Procurement, so there's nothing illicit or some sort of issue concerning having the original incorporators of that organization listed on the statement of organization, etc. Thank you for Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Bolkes. The chair will recognize Senator Ray Fonseca. At this time, you recognize for your 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening. Couple questions to Mr. Hendrickson. So this is the area when you come off the dock, it's on the left going all the way down to the Morris de Castro area?
Correct.
Okay, about how many spaces taxi can it accommodate?
I think it's about 13. I'm just
13.
guessing.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Claxton, how many spaces it can accommodate?
The spaces we are trying to acquire is 13 spaces.
13 spaces. And so you charge the members a different fee from the non-members?
Yes, Senator.
How much do you charge the members?
It's $10 for right now since we operate on a temporary lease.
And the non-members is?
$20.
$20. Okay, you know, so I was doing a little calculation, and it's 13 spaces, and if you charge the members 10, the non-members 20, you average it out, say, 15. It shows that if you fill it up one time, you would collect $195 just on 13 persons. And based on just 28 days in a month, you'll collect $10,920. Now, you gave us a testimony here where your highest month was only $5,900. So I don't know, numbers don't lie. That is the math. So do you, when you mention that you're able to pay $48,000 upfront for the whole 5 years, because you're saying here this is testimony before the committee on budget. So this monthly operating expenses, do you want to change these numbers, or are you still sticking with these numbers?
The low one, the low monthly connection that you saw was a slow month. But like I said, previously I was kidding around when I said 5 years, but we are prepared to pay our bills.
So you're open for 30 days in a month?
Well, it's more than 15 drivers that show up to work. That's just the spaces. Sometimes we park on the side of the road because we have no space. This is why we rotate the numbers to lessen the cars per day that comes. So 50 taxis wouldn't show up one day and block up the whole of Cruz Bay.
Well, see, now, if you go to 15 drivers, you even put your income at higher than I just told you. So the numbers don't add up no how. If you go by 15 drivers, let me show you, 15 drivers times, you average it out to 15, because some is 10, some is 20. That's $225 just for those drivers. Then if you multiply that by the 30 days in a month, you come up to $6,750, and that's just one driver using the space for all day, and I'm sure you have more than one driver. So the numbers is grossly inadequate based on the numbers. So how many persons comes there? I want to ask Mr. Claxton, how many drivers are there in a day? Is it 13 drivers for the whole day or more than 13 drivers?
It varies.
No, not you. I'm sorry. I want to ask Mr. Hendrickson. I'm sorry. Mr. Hendrickson, how many drivers come to that space in a day?
I'll cut it in half due to the fact that some days we have like 10 drivers, 8 drivers. Like Sundays, we have less taxis because some people go to church and what's not. So I'm not going to get out frank and say we have 13 every day. Sometimes we cut in half.
Okay, so see, based on that, even like I said, the bare minimum is $6,750, and none of your figures show that. So the numbers don't add up for me. Okay, let me just go to another question. So, were any others offered the opportunity to get this lease, Mr. Vincent Richards? Was anybody else interested in this lease?
Senator Vincent Richards, Department of Property and Procurement. In my 9 years, no organizations approached us to manage the operations at the St. John Taxi Stand, Senator.
Okay, so one quick question. 20-year lease with the option to review for another 10 years. How did you come up with a 20 years lease? Based on what criteria?
Senator, that was requested by the organization, and we acquiesced.
Okay, so
at first, in my testimony, we did provide them a 1-year agreement to basically make sure that everything ran smoothly, and that previous complaints from the public, the general public, had quelled in the 1 year that we gave them a trial run period, and that we saw actual organized operation, and then after that, we entered into formal discussion about a long-term agreement, and they requested it, and we acquiesced. I know you've asked me about that before with previous leases I've been here before in terms of how we come up with it, but they did specifically request the terms that we offered.
Yes, because this is the second time we've had an issue with leases with property and procurement up here in the St. John. So I'm a little bit concerned about what's going on up here. Was time called, Mr. Chair? Was my time called? Okay, thank you very much for the, no, I don't have any further questions. My mind is made up on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Fonseca. Senator DeGraff, you're recognized for your 5 minutes at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, testifiers, all viewing, listening, and present. June 18, today is June 18, 2025. June 18, 1979, I started working for the government. We used to come up here to fix police cars. And I remember the taxi stand never having a problem. May of 1987, I joined the police department and first assigned in St. John. And I came up here, and I've always known that taxi stand to be independent. So I think I will start off with Mr. Claxton, to you and your organization. Thank you for the service that you provide. To the independent taxis, thank you for the service you provide. St. John was so big. You know, I hear my colleagues talk and all of them spoke well, and they said, but for me, I don't support based on, I think it should be usage for all. That's my take because of the amount of years I've been coming to St. John, and because of it's one port, it's too much value here for us to get into Mr. Clarkson is this, Mr. Hendrickson is this. I didn't come for that. We're all black people. You know, so I ain't come for that picking a sides. I come for telling you how I feel because of the amount of years I've been coming here and knowing St. John, and that's my take on it. So in terms of it just, to me, started to get to a point where one trying to make the other look bad. And I don't think as a body, we should entertain that. And because again, you're St. Johnians, we are all family. And sometimes family don't get along, but I think in terms of, you know, letting a lease come between us, I don't think, on St. Thomas, St. Croix, we have different ports, like was mentioned. So you could pull up, you could have leases here and this. St. John has one main port, one basic entity of what provides revenue for the territory. So I think everybody should have a buy-in. That's my opinion. Yes, you have an opinion? Yes.
Senator, the port is open for every and anyone to come and work. Any taxi driver could come and work from that dock.
Got it. But like I say, for me, my opinion is I don't feel one entity should have a lease on it, and especially a lease on it for 20 years. I came up here and I met with the independent taxi driver. I told them the same thing. I wouldn't support it if it were you trying to get a lease, if it was them trying to get a lease for a year, for 5 years. I don't support it. So as long as it comes down to anyone, are you independent, any entity trying to get a lease, Dwayne Maurice DeGraff will not support it. So that's my take. And I've been doing this for 9 years as senator. So I tell you up front, I don't support it, but not because I have an issue with anyone, or not because I favor anyone. I think as a Virgin Islander, St. John deserves where everybody has a chance, because the island but so big. So we gotta get along one way or the other, you know what I mean? Division gonna cause problems in this territory. That's where we lose Whistling Key. That's where we lose a lot of things in this territory, you know, because of division. Because sometimes we pick money over people. Sometimes we pick issues over people. So, you know, let's one time try unite, put all our issues aside, try unite. Mr. Hendrickson, you were wrong for going on the one way. If you're me, I'd have bought you 4 tickets. You were wrong. So you will make that clear for the record. Right? So, and you admitted it. So I'm not chastising you. You admitted it. So
to pay a fine of $150.
Police, I'm a police for life. Wrong. If you're going to do the crime, pay the time. Wrong is wrong. Let's don't justify, because when a young person come and say, oh, well, I shoot him because he mashed my toe. What we going to tell him? Because he mashed your toe, you're right? You're wrong.
Yes.
Period. So don't justify it and turn it and twist it and think. We're done.
You know? Police,
and administratively, that's what you have. But I'm saying now, and for those that are old-time taxis don't know me, and I had a nickname up in St. John when I came. They used to call me roll call. Because I gave the dock, if you're in by your taxi, I bust you a ticket right away. So that's what I'm saying. So for me, I ain't come here to pick nobody's side. I could care less, but all I use taxi driver, all I use St. Johnian. So it's an easy choice for me. And I do not support a lease for anyone for any amount of years on St. John. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator DeGraff, and I'll take a stab at it before I move on to the bill's sponsor. I am certainly of the mindset of structure. I think structure is very important. I'm not seeing an either or here. I think there's opportunity for both to exist. I have a little concern about the costs for members and non-members. I don't think that it should be a doubling of that cost. I think that there should be some discussion about how do we levelize that. Even at $15, 10 and 15, I could see as being reasonable. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Claxton, what is it that you get for membership outside of being able to park in the parking area? Is there anything else that is made available to the taxi drivers for being a part of their membership?
Yes, we currently have a help a driver program for the members. If something was to go wrong with your taxi and you need help, the association can let you have a loan up to $1,500 to assist in getting your vehicle back on the road, etc. The organization gives free transportation to seniors. The members does that. That helps out the community. And we also have a couple more stuff.
So there seems to be an even split between the members and non-members, or some of the independents have an opportunity to become partake in any given time. So all of the independent right now, some of them actually taking advantage of the membership at some point by paying the $20, or they totally, some that totally just don't come over or be a part of your association?
Well, truthfully speaking, the list that was provided here with the petition, when I went over it, I would say it's only like 35% of these people that signed the list are actually driving. Most of these drivers are renting out most of these people that signed the petition is renting out the plates. They don't even work. That signed the petition. But as far as your question, I am going to reiterate this. Any driver, whether if you're coming from the West End, whether if you belonged to a Paradise Taxi or whatever, has the right to come and put their number down as long as they obey by the rules and wear the uniform. Anybody on St. John that drives a taxi can work from that stand.
So what do you believe is the reluctance of those, or the apprehension by the independent not to join the association?
They don't want to see structure. They want to, this is, you're asking me my belief.
Right.
They
right,
want to
yes.
come and just do what they want, and there's nobody can tell them what to do. So they don't want to follow the rules and regulation that has been provided for everyone to follow.
Mr. Hendrickson, what do you believe is the apprehension of the independents not wanting to join the association?
Question. Really and truly, they're talking about bidding for the taxi stand. They're trying to organize something right now. I don't know if it's possible, and they have some ideas. I think they could help everyone. You know, they want to run it the same way like how it was run before without the organization.
But there was a problem before that prompted the organization and association to come back together. So what is it?
That problem was basically to keep any outsiders out from bidding on the stand and making us pay more money. That was the big talk. Pay money to walk there instead, like say $10. They want us to pay like $20 or $25, and that's why we started the organization back, to keep those people out.
Why you joined the organization?
Say that again?
Why you joined the organization?
I've been a member for a long, long time, and it was running good to me. It was a little misunderstanding and disagreement with some of the officials, but it wasn't as bad as this. I feel like this is like a bully situation, whereas the officials, or those in charge, we come here to work. Let's just work. You may not be talking to me, I don't be talking to you. If I come here and say, Claxton, there's 10 people here for a tour, you know, just pass them on, whereas some officials would basically hide them and keep them for themselves. We walk in. You don't have to be my friend. We got to work together. Like I said, we have to work together.
Did you have a problem before did you have a problem with the association before your situation with the violation?
I've been getting, yeah. Yes, I would say yes. The problem I basically had for like, you know, where St. John official be throwing words at you, provoking you and stuff like that. You don't do that in a work environment. Don't provoke nobody. You never know how my day was. Things like that, we have to be mature and go beyond that. Otherwise, we come to work, just come to work. You have to talk to me, like I said, hey, these people want to talk to you about tour. You up for the tour? Talk to them. Simple as that. Some people just leave the plane right there, they walk away. And these official guys, the heads. So, I don't know, man. It's just, the independent drivers, they're seeing all this, and they say they don't want a part of this. Let's work professional. Talk to me, I talk to you.
Well, part of being professional is the structure.
Yeah.
Part of being professional is the structure.
So
that's
how the
created
structure
in-
going to work?
Yeah.
If me and you are talking and it's my turn to load, we got a list, my turn to load, and I have 10 for a tour and you hide them on the side and like, don't let me know what's going on. That is wrong. That is wrong.
All right.
We got to work together.
All right, at this time I'll yield, and Senator Bulk, point of information, Senator Bulk is real quick before you take the mic. Point of information, Senator Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening again, colleagues. Good evening, testifiers. Good evening, people of St. John. At this time, I am not a member of this committee. But I do know, I want to say this here. I know at times we try to handle things on our own and they don't work out very well. I see this happening in St. Thomas as well. Daily, when I was an administrator, we had issues with people coming and stand and so forth. And tourists downtown didn't have no way to go to get a taxi because we didn't have structure. St. John administrator could tell you we had numerous meetings trying to get them to organize, have a dedicated location. See Mr. Richards there when we bid over the vendors plaza. We even talked about putting a kiosk for the taxi them and so forth. And different things. That's where we included a welcome center and everything in town. But we really needed structure. I hear you all about running it how it was long time ago and everything. But I know at some point in time we're going to be coming back to the same government to assist with structure. And before I rest on this mic, I just want to say this here. That's about every year, a lot of the leaders in this territory attend something called Sea Trade. I can't tell you about your pocket. I hear a lot of big numbers here today. I don't know who all could attend, but I think it'll behoove you to gather a team just to go to Sea Trade as an entity, to hear how the market has diversified, how has it evolved, to hear what the tourists want, what they like. It's about building memories and experience. Taxi drivers, a lot of times, are the first point of contact. You build a memory. So we could stay here fighting and different things. I know in the law, it talks about uniform and the distance away from your vehicle and all kind of thing. Right now, absent of taxi commission having enforcement, we need structure more so than anything else until they get their act together. I know I don't told them about themselves already, but I'm going to emphasize, I hope that you all could get a team to go to Sea Trade just to see how the industry has evolved and the important part that taxi drivers play in this community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Lewis. Senator Bailey, recognize for your point of information.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Richards, you alluded to issues before the one-year lease. Was PMP getting complaints in reference to taxi operation in St. John? If you could put that on the record, just so I could know.
Vincent Richards, Department of Property and Becoming. Senator, in my tenure, I've gotten complaints during when he was Executive Director Sorrow. when he was a director, executive director Smith, then executive director Gums, and now is acting executive director Smith again, from complaints from taxi drivers, complaints from customers on disgruntled, not disgruntled, but unhappy customers, and from
what were the complaints? You're saying complaints, but what were the issues discussed?
Believe it or not, the customers will call about bad experiences. Bad experiences. I'd rather not, go into it, but we've had a myriad of complaints from actual customers and riders who just wasn't happy with the service that they were getting in the St. John taxi system. And then many times we had to bring clarification to the taxi commission in terms of who was actually organizing, or what authority the organizations had or individuals had to organize at the property. And our answer was, we were powerless to basically help the taxi cab commission enforce their rules and regs. We also got inquiries from the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs on a regular basis. So that's one of the reasons why I said we were hesitant at first when we were approached by this current organization to get involved with one group exclusively, because we were apprehensive, and thus the one-year agreement. And then immediately after the one-year agreement was ratified, the complaints just went away. I haven't heard from anyone until the last maybe month or so since we signed a long-term agreement. That's when I started hearing complaints from individuals here and there. I believe up to last week, one individual called me on my personal cell phone and complained about them being suspended. I just listened because in the end I couldn't get involved. I mean, that's not my lane, but other than the last few weeks, I haven't gotten any complaints whatsoever from St. John about taxi services at all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I just want to add that I think there's a wonderful opportunity in St. John and a lot of potential in terms of taxi drivers. And just to go with the former speaker, the former administrator, when we went to C-Trade, we met with taxi drivers from St. Martin. Colleagues, I don't know if you guys remember that meeting. And they were showing us that among their association, they had created an app to make sure that rideshare don't come in, and they had their own app to control that particular market, their rules and regulations, their structure, and she was able to tell us how much the industry had grown because they were investing in the industry. And I don't know what will happen today, but sadly, every time we come to these meetings, you're not hearing about growth. You're just hearing about us fighting each other. This one fighting one, that one fighting, but you're hearing about no organization, about growth. So you guys in fighting, destroying each other. Because the market down there waiting to come on. The market out there ready to take a seat at the table. And if you don't get organized and move like St. Martin and create your own app where people can get service whenever they want, eventually you're going to lose the market that you presently have because you are looking at the competition, you are fighting with him. And it got to change. And Mr. Clarkson, if you're going to move on, you got to respect everybody. You know, I'm here, don't answer nothing. I'm just hearing the back and forth, who cursing this, who this or that. Everybody's grown adults, making money. Why are cussing one another and quarreling about spat and all type of stuff? When the boat full, come sing cry for 1 week and suck salt. And then you're going to appreciate what you have here. Come suck salt where you're going to get 1 and 2 passengers a day. And then you're going to begin to appreciate this wonderful market that you have, that you're refusing to organize. Everybody, you should have dress code, you should have structure. A free independent system doesn't allow structure because you're going to have people that are going to violate and say to hell with them. So when you don't have any structure, other individuals come and they drive and they do what they want and they violate. They say, we ain't paying nothing. You can't stop us from picking up. Your mother this, your mother that. You need structure. So at the end of the day, let me just know what structure I want, because we from St. Croix. And the St. Thomas they going hard saying, hey, keep it like it was, no structure. We ain't want that. So just let me know, because Savanneros had no structure. Leave it like 1974. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Viele. Before we go to Senator Bulkers, I just really want to say quickly is that I heard some of my colleagues allude to the fact that the other islands, St. Croix and St. Thomas, have various ports where individuals are able to do pickup, and St. John only have one. But even with those ports, they still want to talk to an organization. You only have a seat if there's an organization. There's just too much involved in independence and the lack of structure that you still don't have a seat there. So even as we leave here tonight, even if the independent, you have to organize into some entity, because again, you go to WICO, you go to Port Authority, you go to Annie Abramson Port, you go to the Rolston Airport, you still have to have an association to be able to have a seat at the table. Without we calling independent, what that means? Every man for themselves, God for us all. Everybody doing what they want to do, and there's no real organization, and nobody wants to see that. There's just too much complaints, and I'll tell you that when we go to see trade and those other places, and we have these various conferences, there's a lot of complaint that comes in about the improper attire, the words that's used. There's no real structured tours that's being organized. There's individuals that pop up that don't look like me or you sometimes and don't even know a thing about the place that they're taking you to and give misinformation about those locations. So we really got to think about how do we structure even as independent. I want to move on from there now and allow for the bill sponsor to close off. Senator Bulkers, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, concerning the port of entry, I mean, there was a discussion a matter of years ago concerning another port of entry, whether it was mostly private out in Coral Bay. But those efforts did not move forward, and that could have provided additional economic value, I suppose. But what I want to say, colleagues, is it is not good governance for any entity to use public property without a valid lease. That's a failure to protect the people's assets, and it opens up the government for legal and financial risks. As legislators, we have a duty to close this gap and to act responsibly. And it could have been St. Thomas, it could have been St. Croix, it could have been Water Island. I would feel the same way. And the St. John Taxi Services Corporation is a registered nonprofit with bylaws, financial records, a grievance system, and they've actually shown that they can operate responsibly for many years. In addition, Property and Procurement utilized a method to probe them in a sense of seeing what they were able to accomplish during that 1 year interim. And I just want to say that this lease does not privatize public land. It preserves government ownership while creating a legal structure for accountability. The stand remains open to all licensed drivers, as has been reiterated here over and over, members and non-members, through a fair access system that already exists. Now, if that wasn't the case, I would never support this measure. I've spoken to Mr. Claxton on many occasions concerning that very thing. Are you going to revoke access to non-members? And he has reiterated over and over that that will not be the case. Concerns about past management is outdated. Since 2021, this group has restructured and compiled a structure of standards with bylaws, and the problems of the past stemmed from the lack of oversight, not the least. It was a lack of structure, confusion, pandemonium. After 15 years of an informal lease, and a 1 year of demonstration compliance to the Department of Property and Procurement, this is the time to act. This lease brings order, fairness, and protection to all parties. Okay? Listen, I will give you this to think about. What stops the Department of Property and Procurement from reassigning this property to another entity without a lease? Talk to me, Vincent. Mr. Richards, I apologize. What stops you? What stops you from reassigning this property to any other entity or for some other public purpose that the government has?
Nothing, Senator.
Nothing, right? Okay. All right. So you could wake up tomorrow, or the commissioner, the governor, or whoever, right? Let me just make sure I get the whole structure together. You could wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, me want no taxi stand down there. I think I want a little Mickey Mouse house down there, or whatever it is I want, right? And when the government goes into its process to start the contractual process or start aligning itself to create this structure to have this thing down there, after a while, when this 1 year, this is a 1 year, year-to-year, what would be considered an agreement. It's not even a lease, an agreement. And nothing stops the Department of Property and Procurement right now from changing the use of that public property. And if we want to sit down here today and think that we're going to always have that taxi stand to do what we want, how we want, when we feel like it, that is not the case. So wake up, okay? Drink some coffee. Drink your bush tea. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if we want to protect that taxi stand, we need to have a lease. And that's all I have to say on that, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator Bolquez. Again, we have been asked to consider the lease before us. There are some deep-rooted other issues that have entangled this conversation this evening in regards to some of the nuances that individual drivers are experiencing. But really what we have before us is a lease to consider. So that is what, again, that will be considered here today, and we continue to implore and ask the entities, both the current membership as well as the independent, to come together in some way, shape, or form to be able to have those discussions in regards to some of the other challenges, the nuances that you're experiencing, so that they could be resolved amicably. But before us tonight is a lease for consideration, and that's the deciding factors that we have to consider here tonight. At this time, the committee will stand in recess for 5 minutes.
could never forget them good old days.
The Committee of Budget, Appropriation, and Finance is out of recess. I'll give the testifiers 30 seconds to close off at this time. And we'll start off with you, Mr. Hendrickson.
I was basically just informed, like, certain issues, like when we restarted our organization. There was one issue back in the days when tax chair by the name of Mr. Puff, you know, he used to pick up after every boat. And as part of our organization, we decided not to do it. And it's been happening a lot lately. Some of the members are getting frustrated about it. Certain people coming down there, picking up, and just going with the people, okay? And if I understand it is right by law, this organization, if it's privatized, that no member should be able to, part of the organization should be able to come and pick up anyone within 50 feet of a taxi stand. And this is happening every day, okay? And another issue I have here, basically taxi drivers working on St. Thomas and also on St. John. If I understand right, if my badge is set for St. John, therefore I work on St. John. I can't walk to Island, am I correct?
This is your 30 seconds. This is for you to
I'm
do
just
your...
asking, okay? And for my suspension, on my behalf, the rule said, from my understanding, I heard him said, the president said that I have to be working from a stand in order to be suspended for what I did. Those are basically, and I just feel that it does not justice for everyone. Basically, they're still pinpointing taxi drivers who could do this, who could do that. And I just don't think it's a good idea to give them a 20-year lease for so long, because I don't feel that justice will be served. It won't be fair. I just personally feel that 5 years would be good enough. If the independent want to bid on the lease, they should have a right to bid on the lease too also. If they feel they could make some changes and better it. But from talking and listening, our whole issue is basically just communication, whereas we have to respect each other as taxi drivers, people, whatever, and basically not try to put down people or provoke each other into anything. But the 20-year lease, I'm against it. I'm done.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Claxton. 30 seconds.
First and foremost, giving thanks to Christ. Secondly, I want to thank Governor Bryan for giving the association a chance to prove ourselves. Also, I would like to recognize Ms. Shakima Jones-Prow for putting St. John Taxi Association first, since we were the only entity that were formed and that is organized to push us and try to put St. John Taxi Association ahead. Secondly, I would like to thank you, Mr. Francis, and your body. And with closing, I would like to say, with the 20-year lease, we shall move forward, and the organization is willing to work and will continue to work with non-members and members alike. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Claxton. Assistant Commissioner Richards.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you to all the members that are here. I don't envy any one of you in the position. On behalf of Commissioner Lisa Alejandro, I'd like to continue to ask you again for your support of the measure, and we look forward to working with the St. John Taxi Association going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richards, and all of you. At this time, I hear a motion. Senator DeGraff, you recognize for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Bill number 36-0092, an act approving the lease agreement between
in government of the Virgin Islands and the St. John Taxi Service Corporation for parcel number D2, Estate Cruz Baytown, Cruz Bay Quarter, St. John, Virgin Islands, be held in committee at the call of the chair. I so move.
Motion properly made by Senator DeGraff, seconded by Senator Fonseca, Senator Frederick. Roll call.
Senator Marvin A. Blyden. Senator Blyden, absent. Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff. Senator DeGraff, yea. Senator Ray Fonseca. Senator Fonseca, yea. Senator Novell E. Francis Jr.
Nay.
Can you repeat? Sorry.
Nay.
Senator Francis Jr., nay. Senator Hubert L. Frederick. Senator Frederick, yea. Senator Maurice C. James. Senator James, absent. Senator Kurt A. Vele. Senator Vele, nay. Mr. Chair, we have 3 yea, 2 nay, 2 absent.
The motion to hold carries. Point of information. Point of personal privilege, Senator Bolkes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and colleagues, I want to thank you all for today's discourse. I think it was a good deliberation surrounding the matter at hand, and I believe that with further focus, we'll be able to find the middle point, because it's relatively very important that we secure this taxi stand for our people. Again, as mentioned by the Deputy or Acting Commissioner, what your title is again? Assistant Commissioner Richards, I apologize, sir. This property could likely be up for grabs at any given point in time because the department or the government of the Virgin Islands can reposition the property for some other use. I think it's important for us to find middle ground, and I'm making sure that I'll do my part in that deliberation. Independent taxi drivers, along with the association, let's see what we can do to find that middle ground. But we need to secure this lease for the longevity of the stand. We do not want to lose it. If Uber comes here or whoever, they may have a viable opt-in for something to take over. So let's work together. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Bolkes. Senator Vieira, you recognize your point of information?
Personal privilege, but thank you, Mr.
Personal
Chair.
privilege.
I just wanted to put on the record, and we had a brief discussion just now, in which one of the concern was that we need to make sure that if that particular site is ever utilized by any group, that no one is prohibited from utilizing the site. Because we don't want somebody to have an agreement and then they get a lease and then they change it and they say it's only association members and independents can come. So we are going to draft some legislation in case that site is ever leased, that is clearly going to state that no association that utilizes a site could prohibit independent taxi drivers from having access to the site and cannot charge more than X amount of what the members are paying. Right now I'm thinking about 50% or just drafting the bill here, but we're gonna put that in as a protection to make sure that everyone is protected, and then we need to come back to the table and have that discussion as to how we can move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I just want to say in closure that the vote that have been taken here this evening, again, the vote of majority was to hold the bill into committee until such time that additional information can be provided and then a decision will be made. This will not, again, affect the temporary situation that's occurring right now. The property and procurement is still the leaseholder of the property and will continue to exhaust their privilege by allowing for the St. John Taxi Association to continue to maintain this temporary lease until such time that this body make a decision moving forward on it. All right? So point of personal information, Senator Fonseca, you recognize.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. while I do support the notion of structure, I find that the testimony of the proposed leasee was basically flawed and had a lot of inconsistencies. And so for that reason, I cannot support this lease. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Point of information, Senator DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too agree with what Mr. Majority Leader said in terms of a companion legislation. So I will support that, go in that direction in terms of anyone who has a lease, that it includes all. So we're looking into that and we go forward with that, then I will support that and move this here forward. But as it stands now, I stick to my guns. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator DeGraff. Point of information, Senator Lewis.
Hello. Yes, good evening again. Good night. It's been a long day. I thank everybody for this process. I'd just like to say, I wish everybody a happy Juneteenth tomorrow. I think it's a lot of sacrifices as we came on a long journey to emancipation, and let's celebrate that. I think today we showed in here our right to freedom of, freedom of speech and everything, and that's what makes this process so interesting. Mr. Chairman, today would have been my dad's 82nd birthday. I know my brothers and sisters are listening, so happy heavenly birthday, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Lewis. At this time, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues, certainly to all of the testifiers that testified here today, as well as to say once again happy birthday to my colleague who will be celebrating her birthday, her 19th birthday, tomorrow, June 19th. Senator Carla J. Joseph, happy birthday. They gave her a whole holiday for her birthday, so we look forward to celebrating her tomorrow. I want to thank my personal staff and all. Let's get home safely. God bless each and every one of you. The Committee of Budget, Appropriations, and Finance is hereby adjourned.